Yeah, I'm audible, I think. Hi, my name is Rahul. I started Purple.com a couple of years back with my co-founder, Manish Taneja. We do beauty and grooming. We do technology for beauty and grooming. We started off with e-commerce. We are expanding, our reach into salons, spas, and everything related to beauty and grooming is what we want to specialize in. Now, it's tough, when you come in to speak after Parikshit, the expectation levels are always set really high. The bar is here, and the shoes are really big. Although I'm a big guy, but still, it's very difficult to fit in. I'll try and do my best. We've been given a very interesting topic to talk about, art of hustling. Now, hustling in the traditional term is swindling or, being crooked, or it's a negative connotation that you have to hustling. In startup culture, we try and incline it towards something which is more positive. I think hustlers are regarded as one of the best guys who can be entrepreneurs. So from that perspective, let me start. 2 years back, I remember I was in the sales tax office, and we were applying for our sales tax registration. And this is the first time that we are doing all of this. And I come from the group of Tatas, so I'm slightly ethically inclined. I'm not saying ethical, but ethically inclined. And I ended up at sales tax office in Maharashtra, where I don't even speak the language. I'm not Marathi. I don't speak Marathi. I've tried to learn it. I like the language in public, and but I have not gotten a hang of it yet. Sales tax officer, in front of me, my CA, who was actually trying to get this thing done, very categorically told me that, directors and founders of the company are not supposed to meet the sales tax officer. It's only the CA who is supposed to go to them and speak to them. That's how the structure works here. I'm like, yeah, this is very standard. These are the documents which are required. I'll go with the documents and get it done. So I landed up at the sales tax office, and the interrogation started fairly logically, and it ended up being very logical from my perspective, at least from how I look at it. At the end of the discussion, I realized something, and that swung my ethical inclination towards the other side slightly. I'm not saying I'm unethical now, but swung it slightly. And then I realized what my CA told me was correct. There was a structure which is supposed to be followed. This is government mandated almost. I mean, that's what I believe. कि ऐसे ही होना है. So I left it to my 20-year experience chartered accountant, who finally got me the document which I required to start my business, as in start trading, whether e-commerce is a trading business in itself. So that was my first, kind of experience with hustling. When we started off, there are 3 phases that we have gone through. We have gone through a phase where we had our own money. We spent our own money. We had a small group of people in a small little office where your head touched the ceiling and all of that. From raising multiple rounds of funding, all of that has an element of hustle involved there. When you go to so look at the fundraising part of the entire thing. I think some of my investors might be here, but yeah, I'll still go on. So when you look at the fundraising part of it, you meet, Angel 1/VC1 or whatever. Then you meet Angel 2, VC2. You basically, between Angel 1 meeting, which happened at 10 o'clock in the morning, to Angel 2 meeting or VC2 meeting, which happened at 3 p.m., you gather something from here, you change your presentation, which you're supposed to make to Angel 2 at 3 p.m., and there is some element, I'm not saying your base fundamental change, but there is some element of it, अरे ये question ऐसे answer होता है, this is what the guy was looking for, and you put that into your presentation and you go there. And I'm very thankful to all the VC friends and Angel friends who have helped me refine my presentation over and over again. Now, a very interesting question. Somebody questions us every time we go, meet someone. Boss, what is so different about your model? Flipkart to tumko kal it'll kill you, right? That is the standard question that we get from any guy. Right? Flipkart kal aayega, paise dal dega. तुम्हारी तो लग जाएगी. And so that is the standard kind of statement that we get, and we frankly don't have any answer. We don't know. We have survived, and this was asked when we were 1,000 visitors a day. This was asked when we were 10,000 visitors a day. This is still getting asked when we are 25,000 or 30,000 visitors a day. So that's still there. The question still remains. A very learned individual gave us an answer to this question. And that answer happened 2.5 years after we started our business, and have been doing whatever we have been doing. And we incorporated that in a day, and the next VC presentation that we had that answer in it, and we got claps for that answer. Everybody shut up after that answer was said. Simple. So, hustle. Each stage of our life, we have done that because of numerous constraints. You go through constraints which are geographical, you go through constraints which are regulatory, you go through constraints which are monetary resources and stuff like that. That's why you hustle. Now, the other side of it. We thought, yeah, we are fairly good at hustling. We got our first office at 15,000 rupees a month, seating around 20 people, which was brilliant. And this was bang right in front of a big mall called RCT Mall in Ghatkopar. And we had an office there, brilliant traveling place. So we thought we could also hustle our way through our fulfillment center, which is one thing that you do in e-com. Really bad choice. Hustled our way through our first fulfillment center, and we are regretting that choice yet, still. But due to that hustle, where we took up a fulfillment center which is currently serving anybody in the industry I go to. So I have people from Yebi.com who ex-CEO of Yebi.com who we closely work with, Rajul, and he comes and tells me, boss, you're stretching it too much. जो आपने ये किया है, you're stretching it too much. So what we learned there is that every time if you try and find out a nut and wrench method to whatever you do step by step, there'll be one time or another where you will get hurt. And that is what happened with us in the first fulfillment center that we actually set up. What we learned from there is quickly changing into something else, and the next one that we are setting up takes care of all the learnings that we have from the current one. In 6 months, we changed 2 fulfillment centers. Last time when I joined SLP, I'm SLP batch 2014, Laveen was there with me. When I started SLP 6-8 months back, at that time I was setting up a fulfillment center. We just graduated our SLP, and I'm still setting up another fulfillment center. So it works both ways. Now, most of you guys, many of you guys, I think, have had some sort of a twist with starting your own company, managing people. I mean, that is something that we had never done. As 28, 29 years old, you have no idea. You have a structure, पानी अपने आप से आता है, coffee अपने आप से आता है, all of that Tata culture built into it. My co-founder is from Fidelity. उसके यहाँ तो phone भी कोई और करता है, मैं नहीं करता हूँ phone. So and we ended up in Ghatkopar Industrial Estate, where our office was. And then we tried hiring people for beauty and grooming. So we had these really nice looking female candidates coming in who were in category, who were in social media, coming to our office for interviews. Yeah, I remember. But so coming to our office for interview. Now, what happens is that when the person comes in, the first few months we didn't have anything called Purple.com अपने office के सामने, because the office was shared with someone else, and his board was there. So everybody would stand right in front of Purple.com and call कि sir मैं interview के लिए आ रहा हूँ और आपका office मिल नहीं रहा है. मैंने कहा कि 209 में है, आप देखो वहाँ पे बगल में ये है अरिहंत प्रिंटर्स एंड whatever एंड उसके बगल में. सर यहाँ तो एडुसिस सॉफ्टवेयर लिखा हुआ है. मैंने कहा वो कंपनी का नाम है, Purple.com ब्रांड है, अंदर आ जाओ. There was no other answer. I mean, if you tried and explained to them कि 15 मिनट तक कि purple.com क्या है या office share करते हैं, all of those things, he'll get further more confused. That's what we realized. We said कि that is a company's name. This is the brand name, purple.com. You come inside. You'll find us here. That's not a problem. Now, yeah, coming back to the females, which got me a squishy ball. We had these really, we're not beauty and grooming guys. You look at me and you then look at my founder. And so we needed to have people who understood lipsticks and mascaras. Now we understand decently well, although don't look it. So these guys came in, and the first time they're in the office, they're sitting. So there is an office with people sitting right around everybody, and beach mein there is interview happening. So everybody is sitting like this, and interview happening. Yeah, what's your name? My name is Manisha. वो Facebook का post का किया क्या तूने? This is happening. This is a conversation happening from one side of the office to other side of the office. And this female is like at 10 minutes. She's asking, are you purple.com beauty grooming? Yes, yes. I hand over my card to her, saying. And then what we started doing, we started hustling. Then we started having interviews in our city mall. Now we had interviews in Starbucks with. I actually borrowed a Apple laptop, the Mac from someone, and took it for interviews. Every interview I went to, I took his Mac and gave my Lenovo to him, my old Lenovo. It was very interesting. Now, our conversion rates after Mac increased drastically 3 times. Not on the website.
But you never switched to a Mac.
I'm sorry?
You never switched to a Mac.
I never switched to a Mac. I think the Lenovo is a decent powerhouse.
So it's only a packaging game.
It's only a packaging game. If any brand, I avoided brand meetings, calling brand managers to my office for 2 years now. Now we've taken a new office, and I can actually call them to my office. So there was one time when the L'Oreal brand manager wanted to come and see, boss, why don't you meet me in your office? Like, I'll come to Lower Parel. She's like, no, this time I'm going to meet you in your office, whatever happens. Like, no, we are shifting. We are shifting, everything is haywire, you cannot come and sit here, there's no water, there's no and all of this, fan nahi chal raha hai, AC nahi hai, tum kaise baitho? So, and this is what happened for 2 years. Now, fortunately, we are able to get those meetings and all of that. So, like I said, conversion rates increased by thrice after we started using Mac and Starbucks, thanks to Starbucks and Apple both. Good hustle devices for us. So, these are things that we kind of anecdotally have done over the last couple of years. I don't have a structured way to put these are the things that you do when you hustle. So I don't have that. Maybe these are things you would experience when you do your startup, or if you have done it once, then you align with it, you empathize with what I'm saying. The bottom line remains that this part of the journey is something that I remember very clearly. I think beyond our revenue numbers, beyond our traffic, this is something that I'll still remember. Whether purple.com stays, God forbid it doesn't go anywhere, but if stays, it doesn't stay, this is the part of journey that I'll still remember when I'm 20 years from hence. Because these are things that you actually made happen, that could not have been done in a standard structural way, which you could have done in Tata's or Fidelity or wherever. So hustling becomes a very important part of our life when we are entrepreneurs, and those hustles, successful and unsuccessful, both remain with you throughout your journey, even after that. So that's how I would want to end and call Adviti.
Hey, thank you for calling me here today. Thank you, Parikshit sir, for the kind words. Your journey has been an inspiration for all of us. I'm Advitya Sharma. I'm one of the founders of Housing.com, and I'm really excited to be here. Today, I'd like to share a few of the most amazing moments that we've had in around about 2 years of us building this company fresh out of college. As many of you would know that Housing has been founded by a group of 12 from IIT Bombay. And one lesser thing that people know, which is common about all of us founders, is that we come from small towns and villages of the country. As Naveen mentioned, I'm from Jammu and Kashmir. So all my life I've either stayed at home with my parents, or I was shipped to IIT in the hostel during my college days. So never really had to worry about searching for a place to stay. And I remember this so clearly. It was February of 2012. It was my final semester. And I was sitting in my room and we were just chatting. And I suddenly realized that from now on, I had to worry about searching for a place to stay. Poof, from nowhere. And we started pretty early. And within the first few days, we thought that, boy, it was going to be a nightmare. And because I was from Jammu, I didn't even know what a broker was and all, because it's a very small town and you have your own houses, so it's sort of, you don't know what a broker is. So, you know, when we would go to search for a potential flat, there would be this guy who was tagging along with us. He would never say much, he'd just stand there, and after around 45 frustrating days of searching for a house, he comes to me and he says, I want 1 month's rent. And I was shocked. And at that point of time, I had dollars flow over my eyes, because I realized that there's this huge problem that has existed for a very long time now. I remember my seniors telling us that it took them around 2 to 3 months to search for a house, and we also potentially took about 2 months, and I could see a lot of money going out of my pocket right now. Right? So what we decided to do was, all 12 of us, we got together, we started working on the product. In a couple of months, we launched it, and we were in business on the 7th of June in 2012. So actually, we started off as a brokerage model. Now we've sort of pivoted from that model. I'll get to that in a bit. So we started off as a broker, right? And because it was June and July, most of our batchmates from IIT were just sort of leaving college. So we caught hold of them and we said, we find you a house and we'll just charge 50% of the brokerage, right? So that's how, and we closed a few deals in the next 1 or 2 months and got a few revenues. That's how we got funded. We got our first round of funding from Mr. Zishan Hayat and his friends. It was around about 60 lakh rupees. But the months after the first few months started becoming very tough. We suddenly realized that carrying off a brokerage model isn't as easy as it seemed to be. You needed a lot of people on the street who would go and service people. You needed to have a lot of local expertise about that particular area. I remember when we never had a sales team or a representative, I would be the sales team and the representative of the company. So I was meeting this old lady in Ville Parle with her family, and they had to shift. And she knew 10 times more about the society, about the prices, about everything that I ever could know, right? So, unless I decided to do a PhD in that area. So, so that's why it was becoming very tough from not only a revenue point of view, but from a scalability point of view to continue with the brokerage model. And then we realized that, hey, okay, we were looking to solve the whole problem from a need that a human has to shift to a house or get a house to getting in that house. Let's focus on solving one problem right now, which is the discovery of the house. All right, so we pivoted the model in January of 2013. We are now an online real estate classified company. And if you look at the real estate industry, it's been plagued with lack of information for decades and decades now. And the reason is that the current players, what they've done is they give their agents quantums of 500 listings, all right? And if you do some basic research, and we did loads and loads of it, being engineers, you'd get to know that an average agent hardly has around 30 to 40 properties to list at any moment. So what is he going to do with the superfluous extra 470 odd listings that he's already paid for? So what would end up happening is that, you know, agents would post fake listings on websites, and people would end up having a pathetic experience in their home search process. So what we did is we tried to bring a process innovation, and boy did we have to fight for it. We said that we will take photos of every single house and verify every single house before it goes onto the platform. And that is how we will ensure 100% authentic information onto the platform. Now what did this mean? This meant, yep, squishy ball. This meant having an in-house data collection team. So what we've done is we've taken unskilled labor, and through our training of around 3 to 4 weeks, we impart them a niche skill, and they go and visit the inventory or the houses of our partner agents, our partner landlords, our builders, our landowners, over 100 plus unique data points, and that is how we push it live onto the platform. So the moment we pivoted, we suddenly saw a spike in our traffic. We went from about 10,000 odd unique visitors to around 75,000 unique visitors in the span of the next 6 to 8 months. The revenue started kicking in, and because we had learned a lot from the brokerage model, and we had spent a good time on the classified model as well. We took all these learnings and we decided to scale really, really fast. And it's just fantastic, and I remember those days, each one of us 12 founders was responsible for launching a city, and we had to all do it in one day. So I was given the responsibility for Hyderabad, and I don't get that language at all. Finding an office boy took me around 15 days, and boy, before anything, just find the people to get the office set up in place, because it's a hell of a job. So we spent around about 2 months, all of us founders in one or the other city, pushing to get the listings onto the platform, to get the offices in place, to do the interviews in maybe Starbucks. I don't have an Apple, but I'll get one soon. So yeah, and we were able to launch all 11 cities in one go, and it was just fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah. So one thing that we've been building our business in these 11 cities. Our internal mandate is to go to the remaining 40 cities within this 2 quarters. But one thing that's been best about this journey is that every single one of us has always had this one question all the time: what next? What next? What next? Every day we come to office, we sit down and think, what are the top 5 or 10 things that we have to do that are important for the company and that are really urgently to be done. So that is why we've sort of, so that is why we've even brought about what we have, a data science lab, and this team is a really fantastic team. We soon realized that out of all the players in this industry, we're the only ones who have a lot of data. So we thought we'd have a data science lab that will come up with amazing algorithms, amazing features, and will help people in their home search process. We've got things like price heat maps on the website. We've got housing estimates, and I'd like to end it by saying that a few days back I got a mail from this young girl in Bangalore, and she said that, Aditya, I want to thank you. I have a grandmother who's 80 years old, and we wanted to search for a house which had a lot of hospitals nearby. And using the neighborhood feature on your website, we've just shifted into a new house, and I just wanted to thank you a lot. So I think from going to people who didn't know what a broker was, who didn't know what a company is, who didn't know what unit economics is, to going to around 11 cities in around 1.5 to 2 years, it's been very overwhelming. And I'd like to thank all my team members and all the amazing people that we have in the company. Thank you.
We have somebody to pass mic in the audience.
Yeah. So
egos of all of them. Who's in charge?
Sure.
When all of them want to be called the founder.
So all of them are the founders.
Yeah, so how do you manage the decision making?
So first of all, if I had $10 every time someone asked me this question, I'd not need to raise a hand. So I think two things that have worked really well for us. The first is that because we knew each other very well in college, we were all batchmates, a few of them were from my hostel at IIT Bombay, we knew how to communicate with each other. All right, so we've been really amazing at talking to each other and communicating about the important things that have to be done in the company. The second thing is, and it started from day zero, and it's there even till now when we go and hire people from campuses and other routes, is that there is work that is important to the company, and there is some kind of work that people want to do or love doing. And we've always mapped these two things. And we've communicated it properly, so everyone is in loop, and everyone is doing their parts very well, and that's why the whole thing is moving together and all the vectors are aligned, if I have to be a little geeky.
So how is it when you actually 12 founders got together, sort of getting your founders agreement in place, and what was the discussion like? I mean,
we didn't know what was happening. Well, frankly speaking, we had no idea about what was happening. We had a CA in place who was getting all the paper done. And for the first time in my nanu was an IAS officer, and I would see him when I would go and visit him in the office. I would see him sign a lot of papers. And till that time, I had not signed many papers. My dad gave me some college admission form, said sign it and all that. So we really didn't know what was going on. But what we knew was that we had to be really focused on solving this problem. We had to be really focused on building the product, and I think that's what we did. So, yeah.
Yeah.
so I'll just take the.
Hello.
Hang on. So we have time for just 4 questions.
Okay.
So 1, 2. I'll give you a cue when you speak. 3, 4. We'll start from
Okay,
you.
I have 2 questions. First is for housing.
One question.
The second one is really very interesting.
Start with the second, please.
That's what I'm giving for the last. Okay, this is for housing.com. Realistically speaking, okay, no faff, how does housing.com differentiate from 99 Acres and Magic Bricks and now Quicker, Olex, blah, 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 from the operational perspective?
You want to point into your story or some website? Do you want to point into a website? Okay.
So we realized that the real problem which has been plaguing real estate is lack of authentic information. That's information arbitrage. All right. So we knew that we needed data that we could present to people. We had the presentation thought of. I remember the first lines that I wrote on the whiteboard were replicate an offline experience to an online without necessitating physical presence. So to completely replicate the offline experience without necessitating physical presence. So we had the presentation thought of, we have a map-based interface and all, but we realized to power this platform we needed data. So how do you get that data? We need people who will go and collect that data, and because it's India and the labor costs are a little cheap, and within 3-4 weeks you can impart someone a niche training, a niche skill, we've been able to, so recent stats, we've right now listed about 7% of all the flats in Mumbai. We started off with listing every single house in the country, and in just this 1.5 years, we've listed 7% of the houses in Mumbai. So, and I hope it just keeps on growing.
Wonderful.
So wait, one question please. We'll come to the lady. And since we're coming to the lady who inspired this part in your talk before the mic comes around, so I remember I visited your office, or actually we met around and for a cup of tea. Yeah, you actually, about half an hour he just kept me, we just walked around the office, and he was trying extremely hard to not allow me to come to his office. We had chai, and then he got a call, some goof up happened, and he had to go, and I followed him. He's like, "Naveen, 2 minutes, I was waiting. So that's the part where you said you didn't have a swanky office and you actually avoided meetings. So how did you manage to get those pretty faces in for your interviews?
The website. So the website looks pretty. When you put up an ad through someone, you say that it's.
What was your JD like?
Oh, the JD was very simple. It's a beauty and grooming platform which caters to products and services, and you roll a tongue a little bit.
Okay,
So so that looks swanky, and then you point them towards something called purple.com, and purple sounds really nice. To women at least, purple is a very, very interesting color. It attracts them.
Right.
That's what we realized. I'm sorry? I can't hear you, sorry.
Luxury.
Luxury. Yes, luxury. It's actually royal. Purple means royal. That's what it stands for.
So 53% of the audience is actually looking to hire. So I'm just asking, you know, what are those things that you?
So I would say you we tried actually all the routes to hire, right?
Stock photos work, I guess.
Yes, and what we did is we constantly used to have these interactions in office, like parties, and we have this one central lady in office who used to, you know, kind of do all of these things, where we had a fancy dress, CAO, and all of those kind of things. We used to click pictures, Photoshop them, and then keep them for hiring requirements. So that worked really well. We sent out pictures, and with your JD, you send pictures of culture at purple.com as a part of your job description itself to the shortlisted candidates who are coming for interview. That creates an image. So वहाँ हो जाता है. No, so then it's a shock, but then Starbucks mitigated that. And the Mac.
Yeah, hi, good afternoon, Rahul. This is for you, purple.com. My name is Priya, and I've heard your story, and believe me, I can totally connect to it because I'm from the same background. I have done my B.Pharm and an MBA, and I worked with pharma industry. I was head of marketing in Novartis, and now from last 3 months, I have started my own business.
Okay.
So this is actually a fitness center which deals with all kind of wellness, fitness, holistic healing, counseling, yoga, dancing, everything. So when you are talking about your setup, you're saying it's a small place in Ghatkopar, same situation I am right now in, absolutely the same situation, and I'm facing the same kind of challenges what you had faced. So my question is, now right now the kind of customers that I'm handling, like they are not even up to my level. I'm like acting as a CEO of my company and it's at a basic level, but within 3 months I've already have 50 members registered with me, and I have 3 people under me working, as well as I also take care of a lot of things. But my main challenge right now is handling these customers. I'm getting a lot of weird customers, who keep on asking so many questions. So many times they discourage me, sometimes regarding the place, because it's a small place, sometimes regarding money regarding the fees and so on.
In the interest of time, so the question is, how do you handle irate and weird customers given the...
We actually separated. I mean, it was slightly easier for us because we separated our front end and back end. So everything that happened on the front end was very, very auditorium-like, and everything was that happened on the back end was slightly more operationally driven. So it was easier for us. I'm not sure how there's this company called Belita, if you've heard of it, right? Which does home salons and stuff. Belita also separates. So they also are in Kailash complex, one of the industrial complexes. The offices are there. But all of their locations which are customer facing are at slightly the kind of customer, that you would want to attract, slightly swankier location. So you pick up those spots, and that's, at least that's what comes to my mind. If you can separate it, I don't know whether you can.
We had a question here. No, here. Sorry. I had given it to him. Right.
Hi, my question is to Mr. Rahul. You have earlier mentioned that investors used to ask you that, okay, if Flipkart enters, then what will happen to you? Then you mentioned that one of the investors had given you an answer. So I just wanted to know what was the answer.
Offline?
No. I think online is brilliant. I'm sure there are some people I would want this to know, them to know. Look, our category is let's look at category. Our category. Okay. Our category, beauty and grooming. You look at categories which have been in e-com, right? So there's electronics, there is apparel, there is books, and all of that. You look at electronics, and you have 20 to 25 SKUs or 20 to 25 different units capturing around 80% of the market, right? So the money play works brilliantly there. What I can go and tell, say Nokia, Motorola, and all of those guys that I'll buy these three in 20,000 units a month or whatever, and you give me a deal which is not equal to anybody else. That is something that's how you play in electronics and all that. In beauty, the beautiful part of beauty is that Lakme has 318 units, different units. You know how many sell? 187 of those units actually sell, more than 1 unit a month, right? So the spread that you have in our category is significantly higher as compared to any of the other categories. So anybody to focus just money rather than building depth in the category and wipe you out is a problem. I think it was a brilliant answer. We went and tested this with all our beauty brands that we work with, saying, offline mein kya hota hai? Kitna, how does it sell? So that spread is significantly more. It's actually 70% of your catalog which sells, rather than 10% of your catalog, which is easier to handle, right? So that's inventory is easier to handle, marketing is easier to handle, promotions are easier to handle. You don't have a zillion different kinds of skin types and hair types and makeup ranges that you have to match people to, which is something that potentially a Flipkart might not be able to do, is what we believe.
Aditya, my question is to you. My name is Ashok Lunna. I've been with real estate, MCHI, Maharashtra Chamber of Housing Industry, and currently I'm consulting with Liaisons Forest. So you may be aware of them.
Sure.
To a certain extent, your model is the consumer model of what Liaisons Forest does in project research across 15,000 projects in real time, 25 cities. My question, I'm also involved in domaining, is how did you come up with housing.com? I would have thought that is the kind of domain which would not have been available. So how did you get it?
How much did you pay for it is the question, I guess.
Obviously. First of all, on how we decided the name, we'll come to the domain. It took us a total of 5 minutes sitting and thinking what should the name be. We thought that housing could be a brand, it could be something that people understand what it means, so we were clear on the name, all right? Now, both the domains, interestingly, the .co.in domain is also was not of a person in India, it was from someone in Germany. And so we started off as housing.co.in because we definitely did not have the resources or the means to reach out for housing.com, which was held by some .com double entrepreneur in the US in the late 90s, okay, who's sort of milking money off people selling those domains. So we first got the housing.co.in domain because initially we were just based out of Mumbai. We thought that although while we were building the product, we knew that this is something that we can take to other countries as well, but we were really focused on just Mumbai and just India. So we thought housing.co.in will do. But a funny thing happens when you just give your product to people, right? And we got a phenomenal response from people, and things just grew exponentially. So, and with that, so have our ambitions, so have our interests. So one fine day, I was just chatting with the other founder, by the way, his name is also Rahul, and we were discussing that, for how many years are we doing this? All right, are we doing this for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? We said, no, we're building this company for the next 50 years, for the next 100 years. It has to be something like Amazon, like Google, like Facebook. I'm not too sure about Facebook though, but by that time, fortunately, we had been funded by Nexus Venture Partners, and they were also completely aligned on the timeline for which this war and battle is going to be. So we wanted to be as strong as possible for the next 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years. So it's an investment for next 100 years.
So you managed to buy it from a domainer.
Yeah.
Like it on the price.
Something, right?
Yeah, it's $500,000.
take one last question from General Panther. You want to take it? Okay. Okay, Nikhil.
Hi, my name is Nikhil Narang. I'm part of OneLeap Solutions. We are a technology solutions startup as such. My question is to both of y'all. You both touched upon the topic of traffic on your website, right? And you did mention a lot of hustles you've been through operationally. What my question is about is, the hacks around the traffic that was generated. I'm sure you had enough hacks when you were starting up in your initial years. Not everyone has enough budget for marketing. So.
Okay.
He gets to give you the token of appreciation, I guess.
Hello. Yeah. Hacks around traffic. We have used so many now that I could put it down on a Oxford notebook and it will still fill all the pages. So I think what is important is understanding and measuring every hack that you do, quickly taking that hack out if it's not a hack but a thorn for you. So as soon as you learn to do it, if you're asking me the elixir of driving traffic, then that is an answer that I don't have. What I can one use case. Initially, the hustle that we did is tying up with brands which have more visibility than we have to drive traffic, which was credit cards, your banks and Knowledge, DFC and all of these guys, obviously bigger brand names than we were, Payback, the loyalty cards and all of those things. So that was a small little use case of traffic hack, no cost at all, free traffic that was coming to you, almost free traffic. And but yes, I would say we would have done 50, 100 things where we would have struck off some of them as they didn't work. Please, the only suggestion is to redo them again, because at some scale some things don't work, at a different scale they do. And don't hold on to a hack just because your gut says that is what yoga. Measure every hack, then strike it off. Simple.
So I'll talk about a very interesting hack. One day when we started off we launched our rental platform first because we were essentially trying to solve the problem that we had. We were bachelors, we wanted something on rent, so we thought, hey, we build a tool that we could share with people like us. So slowly we entered into resale, we entered into PG, and one fine day, Rishabh Agarwal, one of the founders, he comes to me and he says, land mein bahut paisa hai. Yeah. So we checked here and there, and not a lot of the people in this industry were doing anything for land. So what we did was we decided that we'd pilot something. I was talking about this what next question that we always have every single day in the company. So we decided to pilot this land kind of a project in Hinjewadi in Pune. Now, so although we did find a lot of people who wanted their list, so we had this 360-degree photosphere of their land, we did some aerial views for them, we wrote down good content for those guys which would help highlight the best features of their land. But we couldn't get traffic because, as it turns out, not a lot of people want to buy land. So what we would do is that we had our data collectors who would actually go and collect the data for the place. We would also send them to houses of potential buyers, and they would show them the land on the website. So that's how we would drive traffic. We would actually knock people's doors and say, are you interested in buying the land? I have a platform for you which you might find interesting and you might like it. So that's the kind of hacks that we've tried to do. But it's a lot of the times it's India, as Parikshit also mentioned, from an internet point of view, it's the baby phase. So many times you have to realize that maybe you have to go and create that market. Maybe it doesn't exist. So in our small little experiments, we've tried to do that, and one of the hacks that we had was banging people's doors and saying, hey, this is the website, please use it.
Great, I think we'll call it off as the last question, and thank you very much Rahul and Aditya, thanks a lot. Big round of applause for both of you.
Thank you so much.
And I'd like you both to nominate one of these people who have asked you questions for the most smashing question to be on stage.
One last question.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
To Rahul, one last question.
Okay, go for it.
So Rahul, you say that beauty and this is Satyajit. I'm from Nine Rivers Capital. You say that so beauty and wellness, it's a relatively new category. I mean, sort of category, and nobody has become a leader in this space. So you've got Flipkarts of the world who also do this, but then there are specialist players like Nykaa, Beauty Cafe, Purple. So what would you say is your differentiator, if any, and sort of where do you position against the others? Because we were looking at this interesting category, and I think your previous answer was very interesting about the spread. But how do you sort of differentiate or maybe compete against other players in this category?
Beauty and wellness, if you look at offline, it's a very, very suggestive selling or influence selling behavior. It is not as much feature driven as it is driven by who else is using it, and that would, in our belief, would create a big differentiation for us. What we have created right now is a product platform where we are gathering data on what people are purchasing, looking at, clicking, and all of those things, right? There is another segment of the business where we are doing what housing is doing for salons and spas. We have kept it slightly hush-hush. It's still nascent. We have around 3,000 salons and spas services on the platform in Bombay, Delhi, Pune, Bangalore. So we've done 4 cities. And that is another behavior that we are going to capture. That is another segment of the market which nobody is capturing online. These 2 user behaviors, plus based on that, the influencing would come from people who would come and interact on the platform, plus the content that the platform churns out, whether they take it from someone, curate it, or do it themselves. So you will start influencing when you get to a scale with all of this data. So our tagline is to provide completeness in personal care and grooming. And the completeness can only come if I match services, products, and the influence behavior that happens offline. And that, I think, would be our differentiator as compared to whether that's Flipkart or any other player in the market. And that is what we have seen happen in the offline market. Every large guy, look at US, and we did this small little, Amazon.com sells the largest amount of beauty in US, 28%. That's the market share of Amazon.com, not a 60%. The second largest player is Sephora.com, which is at 18%. Now that's not a large difference for only a single category player as compared to Amazon.com. And if you look at the character of Sephora.com, the character is fairly simple. I tell you what, or I suggest to you, or I influence your behavior in terms of what you want to buy. And that has been the philosophy that we are driving towards. It will get rolled out in phases. Right now, it's product and services getting rolled out. So that's where we are.
Thanks. So now.